Hi, Thrand here.
Hi, Skallagrim.
Okay, we're going to do a reply video instead of continue with the videos we already had planned, which we're still doing those, guys, don't worry. But last night I was watching different videos online and somebody had linked something about this Nick Drossos guy. And he's like a 15-year experienced bouncer, self-defense teacher, and he has a gentleman who's not very well trained, and he asked the guy to show him some techniques, you know, to grab his arm or whatever with a knife defense techniques. So when the guy thrusts, he does something to the degree of, or I think he blocks it this way, and then he comes around this way, saying he's going to grab him that way. You know, and I mean, that's a common defense technique. People use arm bars and so on, but that's the problem with it. People don't, I mean, I agree with that. They don't just walk up and stab at you and hold it here and let you do that to them. Yeah, that's not going to happen. But also, you know, I think he does a higher one where the guy comes down. It's the same thing from here, but he just does it really campy like this, and I want to get your arm like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not really how you'd be grabbing the arm, but you tell the guy doesn't know what he's doing. And then Drossos pulls out his Sharpie or whatever he had and puts on the headgear for some reason because they're not really using a knife. And he says, well, I'm going to come at you like somebody really come at you, and I may come out this way like you showed me, or I may come in this way like you showed me. You know, and remember, when I did the technique, I wasn't showing a proper technique. I was trying to replicate what I saw him do because it looked very clumsy like that. But so y'all know, don't think, oh, that Thrand showed me a technique. That's not a technique. It's kind of a technique, but that's not how you apply it. But anyway, when this guy's here, he says, okay, I'm going to come at you, and what I want you to do is get my arm and do that. So he comes at him, but I'm not going to let you know if it comes this way or it comes this way, and I'm going to come in. Hey, man, what the fuck? What the fuck? And he's all cut up. I don't know if you saw it on the camera, but he's all cut up with the marker. And he tried to grab my arm. It's hard to grab the arm. But he used a marker technique. Let's do it so you can see a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, make sure we stay in the camera. You're getting ready. You're going to try to grab the arm like you're going to reach at it. And that's all he was doing is this little type of technique like this. Would this do anything? He's doing a marker technique to mark the guy up.
I gotta tell you, I just don't see it doing anything.
That's not a real knife cut, in my opinion. No, not through a T-shirt or anything. I mean, you have to cut to cut. You'd have to.
You have to drive it in there.
Right now, thrusting, that's something else. We'll do something about that. If I was doing some little thrusting stuff, maybe. You know, if he was standing there taking it, not backing up or trying to defend. But we'll see what. Today we're going to test blades and see what they do against material and different mediums, and how easy it is to cut with different lengths, small blades like somebody be fight with. And we'll show you what to do if somebody does come at you with that terrible, you know, like you see in a prison
knife style. Yeah.
Where the guy comes in and just starts going nuts, and you know, what do you do about that?
Now this is a two-part series, y'all. So we're going to test blades on mediums in this episode, and then the follow-up will be the knife defense and how to prepare yourself and how to do that.
Right, but I mean, honestly, do you think you're going to be coming in just doing this to cut you? This is what it looked like he was doing. I'm sorry, I don't hate to mess.
Yeah, dude, it's not a problem.
I'm sorry, but you know something wrong with the little. And
I'd love it
if you try to grab me, he's doing little stuff like this, you know, like little bitty nicks. And
well, I'd say through my muscle.
That hurt the guy, but that's not going to be the same effect as if I cut that. Like if I cut
if you draw the blade,
where I cut all the way through the. Even if I push across it, it's going to draw. The thing I saw is he was just using a marker like a marker, you know, like. I'm marking.
Well, I'd love somebody to fight me with a knife doing that. That'd be great.
Not to overdo this, I've seen people do this in knife demonstrations, where if they just touch you with the knife, you're all cut up. I mean, does that work? That's what we're talking about. Just do a little thing like this at you. Is it going to do anything? Thrusting, like I said, maybe. You can impale somebody by coming in with your body behind it, but you're going to be committed.
Right.
That's what we're talking about. You're going to put something behind it. I don't care if you are that guy in prison, you're throwing... You know, you're
throwing lunges. You're putting it in.
Yeah, you're trying to drive this in because he wants to just really mess him up. And
you want to hit vitals.
Yeah. That's why a lot of people's hands slip up the blade and stuff, and we'll talk about that too.
Yeah, we got some information on that as well.
But anyway, let's go ahead and get with our testing. Remember, this is the first half. This is not the actual techniques or how to handle it. This is just going to be us talking about cutting properly and thrusting properly and see what they'll do, what kind of damage they actually do.
Yeah.
Let's
do it, man.
All right,
ready to rock.
Oh, did I say this is a reply to Skallagrim as well?
You know, if you didn't, it's a good time to say it now, Thrand.
This is also a reply to Skallagrim's video because he did one called Some Considerations About the Perils of Knife Defense. I believe I got the title right. It's kind of a long title. But there's also a reply to him because the second half is definitely going to be a reply to him. Now, we're not saying he said or did anything wrong. He had a lot of good points, very accurate. But we're just going to add to it because we might as well. I mean, it came out at the same time. It's kind of coincidence. You know, I clicked on that. I plan on doing a reply to to Nick Drossos. So
right.
Oh,
well, and we're also going to do y'all a favor. We know it's hard when you shoot with a tripod, so we're going to let you see the footwork. So we're going to be in a longer shot on part 2.
We're going to hopefully have a cameraman to film us and maybe have the other person participate because they love fighting with knives as well.
One of the most important things about knife fighting is moving.
I don't expect to come out unscathed or not get hit or something. We're just going to show how it would look if you were really doing it.
And you can't do that in a medium shot from the waist
for the
up.
attack. You wouldn't be standing here bracing. So.
No, yeah. And
yeah,
besides,
it's not a shield. You don't have a shield unless you had something to hold or something. You're not going to do that. So.
Right, yeah. Well, anyway, let's get to those tests, Thrand. I'm eager to see how this goes.
Let's do it. Most of the time when you run into somebody with a knife, he's going to have one of these little clip-on jobs, fits in your pocket, and you can pull it out and open it like this. Just like I got here. Now this is a model made to sell in Corpus Christi, Texas. Our officers here will check you to make sure it's not over this length. And I always wonder that. That's only about 3 inches, you know, the blade. So I was trying to figure out why 3 inches or 4 tons, we do that for reenactment. Why is it 3 inches and it has to be foldable? Because Texas law doesn't say that. It says 5.5 inches and doesn't say much about foldable if it's on display. The thing is, Corpus Christi has its own ordinance that states that in public places you can only carry one 3 inches long. But is there good reason? I mean, shorter edges, do they cut as well? That's one of the things we want to know. But the other thing we wanted to talk about is if you came at somebody cutting like this with this cut, that's what we want to find out right now. We've got a little bit of a cut. But I'm just saying, I know that's a bottle and it's a little bit tougher than flesh, but I'm just, like I'm marking him with a marker. And of course, with a marker, you can do stuff like that you couldn't do with a blade. So yeah, if you're trying to scare somebody, teach them knife fighting is real dangerous and it's just real fast like that, I can see that. But let's see what happens if I try a proper cut. And that, I had to commit myself. My body was behind that. And if you see it, it's barely leaking out because of the way the wound is. That's all the way through the length of this blade. I've got other blades. These are all very sharp blades. You can see that, so you know I'm not tricking you or something like that. Nothing not sharp about it. That's amazing how it's holding the water in. That's actually there. It's just not bleeding very quick. But seriously, little nicks. No. I had to do that. If you're watching, I had to put my body in that to cut through that. I don't know if y'all guys are seeing what I'm trying to say. To actually slice it, I have to do something like that. That's going to take a lot longer than... That's not going to do much damage. I know it's a bottle, you say it's not a human. Now, maybe thrusting. I can get little thrusts like that real quick. But the problem is, if the guy's trying to back away from me, I'm doing that, that's what I'm going to get. I'm going to get these little 1-inch things. Now, is that not dangerous? We see water coming out of the bottle. That is dangerous. If I start getting enough of these in me, and my heart's beating 100 miles an hour, I can bleed out. Enough blood loss will kill you. You know, but is this going to hit an organ or even intestines or anything? Most likely not. Am I going to be able to totally gut the man? Not unless I really am committed to trying to do that. That's what I was trying to say. The little marker thing, nah. But here's other considerations. Is it possible that material you're wearing could help stop little cuts like that? Even a t-shirt? We could test that out and see. So let's set up something else here for y'all. Oh, one other thing I want to show you. Like this one, the blade doesn't come all the way back. This is longer than 3 inches. But a lot of officers here will let you get by with the, as long as it's this piece here and not the actual blade, they'll let you get by with a longer knife if it's just this piece. And I've seen them much longer than this, so you can run into knives longer here in South Texas, Corpus Christi. But like I said, Texas is 5.5. For fun here, I'm going to use a little 2-inch blade. Now, the military considers anything over 2.5 inches lethal because they picture possibly you could get it into the proper area. If you stab, there's certain areas you can use a 2.5-inch blade. But other than that, it's very difficult to do anything to kill anybody. There are places in the leg where you might find something close enough or something. But I'm just using it for fun here. We'll talk about that later in the actual video on what to defend, what parts of your arms you don't want cut. So I'm just going to see if it'll cut it. This isn't a really great blade and it's got a serration, but let's see if we can kind of cut it. I'll first try the shirt we don't care about. We don't go to this gym. I got a little bitty hole. And it went in the hole. The shirt didn't even tear. But that was me poking with it. I got about that much in. And that was that same type of technique. I'm not even going to worry about trying to cut good with this knife. It's too small. We're not going to get anything. It was just to play around with it. So yeah, something like that could hurt you. It'd be scary as heck to face it. You'd be bleeding a lot, but I don't think this would be a great threat. Let's go to another blade. This is a really sharp blade here. It's kind of messed up the handle. But we'll try that same technique. Make sure the shirt's on here like you've been a person, kind of loose. See if I can cut this. Still got plenty of water in it. Did I ever cut the shirt? Yeah, a little bit. Did it cut the bottle? No. The shirt's given a lot of protection to this bottle. Let's see if I can cut the bottle. I think the lid came off, but I don't think we got a cut. I'm going to pull this off and look at it. It's kind of hard to tell with bottles and stuff. But I think the shirt did its job. That was a proper cut. We got a deformed bottle, other than my little bitty hole. You can see that went about yay so deep. And just like flesh, it's trying to seal up. That was me stabbing pretty hard with this thing. But just a t-shirt. I don't necessarily want it wet, because it wouldn't be wet unless you're bleeding. Just a t-shirt, me trying to cut through this. And that's me with a good cut. I think we did it, but we pulled the whole table off with it. Sorry guys, but let's look at that. That was me throwing as hard a good cut.
That is pure commitment to that cut,
yeah,
too.
I had to put everything I had into that. And let's see if we can find our cut.
Oh, yeah.
But that took everything I had. Now let's see what the shirt did. Sorry, I wet our shirt. I didn't want to do that because I want to test this in some ballistic shell. I have to get a different shirt. But what happened to our shirt? Where's our big cut in the shirt? There's got to be one, guys. Sorry.
Here.
Oh, we found it. That's all it cut through the shirt. And that's a cut. We're not talking about thrust right now. We're just doing cuts. Naturally, you could thrust through a shirt easier or stab the guy. That's the primary method of injuring a guy with a weapon like this. If you really want to kill him or hurt him, which we're not trying to promote that. We're saying to keep you from safe when you're defending yourself, is the guy's going to try to thrust you. If he knows what's good for him, he's going to try to thrust you in the neck. He'll thrust and cut out. He's not going to just thrust you. He's not going to just try to slice you. But that's all I did in the shirt. That's all our cut to the shirt. But look at the wound we got. It looks like it took the impact, caused it to split, and then cut through the shirt through here, and then it came out. But that took a lot of commitment. I had to literally, there was no little marker stuff. That's all I was getting at. That stuff will hurt you, but it's not going to, it's the same as me sitting here doing this. To a degree, you know, it's going to cut more than that, but it's not going to go deep into the muscle and make you lose the use of your hand. That would otherwise. Alright, we've got some ballistics gel here. We're going to try our little fast cutting back and forth motion that people seem to think does a whole bunch of damage, and to see what it does to the ballistics gel. And yeah, we got some little cutting here, but I don't see anything over, oh god,
It's like a quarter inch.
At the most. Now yes, is that life-threatening? No, but would it ruin your day if somebody was doing that to you? Yeah, it wouldn't be fun to be cut like that. But the question is, if we take this and set it up this way and put some cloth over it, okay, this is an assisted opening. I want to bring that up too. If you're in Corpus Christi, Texas, you can own these. You can't carry them in public, supposedly. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense to me. They're real nice one-handed. There's nothing illegal about this blade other than it has a little spring to help come up. Let's let y'all see that this thing is still razor sharp. I haven't dulled it. I don't know if you can see hair on this thing. I just shaved hair off my arm. I'm letting y'all see that I'm not pulling your chain here and making something up. And this ain't a sharp knife. Thrand's just playing with us, making us think t-shirts are magic or something. But I'm going to do that same kind of just arm cutting technique. Like I'm going to come in and cut real fast. If I can keep it up here. But let's see what it did. Now I'm getting a little cutting on the t-shirt. It's hurting it a little bit. See if I can cut a little bit better here. I'm trying to increase it a little bit as I go. I'll try to do a little more with just the arm. I want to use just the arm. You know, like he's doing, real fast. Ooh. It's amazing. I can get a quarter-inch cut with a t-shirt. It's not cutting it at all. Remember, this cut's easier than human flesh. We've already pulled that. I have a few slices this way, but this was from others' test earlier. The ones up and down, those weren't the ones I just did. If you look, there's some scoring on the shirt rubbing against it. But that's just rubbing against, just like you do your skin and make a red mark on it. That's a t-shirt. Now to cut through this, Is it possible? Could I cut through this? Yeah, but if I try to do this little fun little, you know, I'm going to cut you. I finally got one, a little bit. Less than a 1/4 inch. Not even that, 1/8 of an inch or less. But I got to cut the shirt. But what I'm trying to say is, that's the kind of wound you get. Now, if I want to cut into this, and I want to really cut it, and make sure I hold the knife good, you don't want your hand to slip on it, let's see what I can do. Ah! It was almost a thrust cut, but our t-shirt went into the hull. So do you know what that tells me? That tells me that this gel's just letting it enter. I don't think your shirt would go in the hull like that. I really don't. Let's see if I can get a good cut. I'll change angles here, and I'm going to try to slice it appropriately, like if I was trying to slice, and see if I can cut this. Ugh. Looks like we got a better cut, but I mostly cut shirt. I didn't cut gel. Let's try again. The gel's moving around on us. Sorry about that. It's not really accurate because we don't have a huge piece, but I'm just explaining. Cutting is not the, these shirt blades, it's not the primary thing that you'd want to do with them. You know, I'm trying to see if I can cut through this, and I got a really sharp edge. And I cut shirt and stuff, but let's see what kind of wound we got in the actual gel. We did get a cut. We got a cut. That one was a cut, but I'm reinserting the blade to try to figure it out. We got that same kind of cut. The shirt's helping stop the edge. If I didn't have the shirt, I mean, just to show you, and I try to do a good cut. We have a cut here, not that deep. But if I try to cut it without the shirt, you see what just happened, right? I cut to here, all the way through. The shirt's stopping my edge because I have very little blade to cut with. That's what I'm trying to show. See that wound there? That was with no, so if you were bare shirted, the shirt's going to help you. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Any clothing you wear. Thicker clothing. We could do that. Let's try doing some jean material or something, see what that's like. We're back with the same ballistics gel and some blue jean material. And what we'll try doing is slicing it. That same silly, you know, one arm thing. Like I'm just going to cut the guy the best I can with just an arm shot. The fabric doesn't want to cut. This is jean material. Let's try out different type of cut. What did I get? Nothing. Making sure we're not hurting the gel. No, we're not hurting the gel. Nah, it's not going to cut that way. Is it possible to cut it if I hit it properly with a good cut? That's the question. If I cut it properly, could I maybe cut it? Jean material, I'm sorry, but it's not cutting, and this is a razor sharp blade. It's just embedding it into the...
and that's light denim, too. That's not even heavy denim.
Now, there is a secret. We're going to go ahead and go to that. These kind of knives, what are they really good with? They're good with thrusting. I do a light hand thrust against the jean material, and I got it in. That's what that would do to your leg. It would go in, but that's a light thrust. And I'm sorry, but unless you hit something that made you bleed a lot, like a good vein or an artery, it's not very deep and that wouldn't affect your leg. You could still run away. Serious, unless for some reason inside the leg you just happen to have a really thin area to get to the femoral artery, you're not going to get anything. But it took a thrust to go through the jean material. Me just trying to cut it like you're wearing a jean jacket. I'm going to come up there just cut into you. I didn't do nothing. The jean material moved. It will cause some bruising on you, but I'm not causing any great cutting. When they put it like I was hitting the bottle, trying to cut through it and see what I can do. That's a committed strike cut. I got it back in the same wound we had before, but I did start cutting into the fabric, see?
So it's not a very substantial cut.
Now I want to try a different side of it. I want to see if we can get a cut through, because it's not impossible to cut through it with a sharp blade like this. It's just not easy. Let's try again. I'll try more of a thrusting cut and see what we can do. Ah! We got what we wanted, finally. But did you see what the cut took to do that? Could you all see my body when I moved and everything? I don't know if everybody watched me move.
You had to put your hips into it and everything.
Yeah, like if I was using a weapon, like you wanted to kill your opponent. This stuff isn't going to do it. Maybe on your arm if it was uncovered and I walked up and I I could cut into your arm. Yeah, if a guy gets you and he pulls that into your arm and cuts, he can probably cut all the way through the muscle and everything if he gets to do a full draw cut, press into your arm. But remember, hacking on a body won't cut it. On this, it'll hack into it. But on a body, you know, like your arm, it's not going to do it. It takes a real cut. We're using this as an example. We're just trying to show you what you need to really worry about is commitment. If you guys committed with that cut like I just did, that's the same as a thrust. I've got to put something behind it. If I'm sitting here just thrusting it this way, I can get it in there, but we're getting like that. If I want to really stab you, I've got to go, ah! And I'm not going to be doing these over and over again that fast. You can punch pretty fast. It's about like punching. And yes, we got it all the way through and out the back of the denim. And no, the jean material didn't do any good. But we're just trying to get you to realize what to be afraid of and not to be afraid. Not that you don't want to be afraid of getting cut, because no, if I get cut at all, I'm going to start bleeding, your heart's pumping, you're scared. It's going to be scary as hell if somebody comes at you with some kind of blade. So the problem is you make mistakes, you're on adrenaline, but most of all your heart's beating really, really fast, and blood's going to start pouring out, and you're going to start getting more and more lightheaded. So every little cut. But him trying to cut your leg, yeah, it's probably not going to happen. It's hard to cut jean material. I did do it though. And that was with a tremendous amount of...
that was a lot of effort. Yeah, you had to put everything into it.
Yeah, and this was the wound from earlier, was it not?
Yes, it was. Yeah, that was the one from the t-shirt.
That's all this did. You see what I'm saying? I didn't get a very deep cut.
But it just goes to show you have to make that committed attack with a short blade.
I didn't get a deep cut is what I'm saying. I did it, and it was stuck in here at this point to here, but that's still not very deep. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to argue with anybody. I'm just trying to talk about reality of knives. We'll try some bigger ones and see what happens with that. Okay, we have a Browning Hog Hunter. This is Skallagrim's knife. He really likes it. It's got a dang good edge too. I don't know, I'm just sitting here playing with it. Let's go ahead and see what we can do. Get this out of the way, and I'm going to cut a sheet. If you get mad, you're standing there right there looking at me like, what are you doing? But anyway, I'm going to try cutting with this and see if I can get a better cut. I'm going to do a really nasty, try to do a really nasty cut, see if we can cut through that. Ah! And let's see what I got. I got a cut, but it bounced, so it wasn't a real cut like me cutting against a person, so we'll try again real quick. Ah! And we have that same problem where the jean material doesn't cut, but it starts ripping into the ballistics gelatin. I'm sorry, but to me, I don't find that very believable. I do know a razor sharp edge of this kind, cutting should cut better, so see if we can cut this way. We get the same problem, ripping into gel and stuff, but we're not really cutting fabric. Best cut was probably the one we got earlier. But anyway, I will go ahead and do that light thrusting stuff. Got a little bit of a poke there, but that's the light thrusting stuff. This is a broader blade. That went in, but not much. Okay, let's see if we give it a good one. What will happen? Ah! Apparently, I hit it right on the seam and drove it into the body, but not the jean material itself. I believe that's a possibility, but we get our gel tearing up, so we'll probably get to a point where we don't have a leg to stand on, so to speak.
Ha!
Validity. Yeah. Because where gel's underneath here is getting mortified.
And because it's wearing blue jeans.
This is a good thrusting technique to have it this way to put more force behind it, and your hand won't go up the blade. I'll try to see what I can do with it. Ah! I went all through, hit the wood, but we're still not doing much to this jean material, so that's got me really thinking this stuff's not behaving right. We pretty much lost our gel. But just to show you the quick cutting thing, it's not going to do that much, but this stuff is really easy to cut anyway, so I can do this number on ballistics gel, which you can't do that with a person. That isn't going to cut me.
Yeah, but you know,
it left a nice mark on me though, but it didn't.
It sure does help us prove one thing. Your clothing.
Makes a difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, that looks like I cut myself, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks like you cut yourself a little there.
I didn't cut myself at all, but I'm saying it's just an
It just looks that way, but still.
Right, but it just cuts so easily that even if I do that, but with a longer blade, there's a greater chance of getting a deeper cut, though. So we got a longer blade, I can accelerate it more. I can take a blade like this and use the weight to kind of hack. With a lighter blade, I have to cut with it. So, but anyway, I think we've pretty much proven a point that fabrics make a difference, and that little light thrusting and cutting stuff's not the same thing as a committed cut. I think we've proven that today, and that's all we're trying to do is, if the guy's really going to hurt you, he's going to be committed. Light thrust can hurt. You know, like little light thrusting techniques can go in. But to go through, you pretty much have to, you know, you have to have the thing here, and because this does behave something like flesh like this, you have to be committed and go through the whole thing, which I won't underneath. To get it all the way through everything, you pretty much have to put everything into it. Anyway. Oh, I was going to say, be sure and tune in for part 2. We're actually going to do combat techniques. The main thing we're proving today is that everything has to, there's going to be commitment to the guy. He's going to have to put his body behind it. He's going to have to cut you. He can't just, you know, he can't just come out here and use all arm technique. If he could, everybody would be.
And nobody stands still.
Everybody be the god of knives because you're so fast. Can't catch my hand. And I just do this.
But the thing is that
it doesn't work. No.
Fights are dynamic. Whether it's a knife or hand to hand, you know, fist fight, it's dynamic.
You're going to see him commit when he goes for a good thrust or he goes for a good cut.
And unless you're really dumb, you're going to be moving around yourself.
And if you're wearing clothing, it's going to be a lot harder for him to just slice you, especially with a shorter blade. This is, like I said, in Texas, this could be legal if it's open carry for hunting or whatever. But in Corpus Christi, this is actually illegal, even open carry. I mean, like where you can see it.
Yeah.
So he's probably not going to have one of these unless he's a criminal and he's just carrying a knife to mess you up.